Land Before Time.
Alright, so you see we're going to go over the history of Earth today, which is the Land Before Time. And what's going to be, we're going to take you through different eons and eras of Earth history, which you've been studying. And an eon is a bigger picture, think like when you read the entire book. And then an era is like when you're in small groups and you read with your partner and you break it up into do they understand it or not. So we're going to take you through little small sections and bigger sections, and we'll go from there. So we're going to start with the Hadean.
Alright, so we're going to start with the Hadean, and it began 4,600 million years ago. So think a long time ago, even before you were born. There was nothing living on this eon, so think of your pet dog or your pet cat, none of that kind of life. Not even you were around, if you were human, because it was so hot. The climate in the Hadean eon was so hot that rocks couldn't even stay solid. So it was a bunch of lava, like in the middle of a volcano. And I know you know about volcanoes. And there was no oxygen in the atmosphere, so you probably couldn't breathe, which means there would be no life.
So next we're doing the Archean eon, and it's separated into 3 different eras. The first is Paleoarchean, second Mesoarchean, and the last Neoarchean era.
This is the first eon where there is any life, but it isn't the type of life that you and I are used to. All the life was bacteria and too small to see. They used photosynthesis, which means that they convert carbon dioxide to oxygen, but you still wouldn't be able to breathe. The air was toxic.
Alright, so next we have the Proterozoic era, and it starts from early, middle, and late Proterozoic.
The continents and countries were not where they are now. They were all grouped together in a formation called a supercontinent. There have been several supercontinents throughout the history of Earth. This one was called Rodinia. At this time, the oxygen in the atmosphere is very close to how it is today, thanks to the bacteria we talked about in the last eon. At the end of this eon, the entire Earth was completely frozen. It became a whole snowball in the sky. Everything was completely covered in ice.
Now we're in the Phanerozoic eon, and this is the Paleozoic era.
There was an explosion of life called the Cambrian explosion at the beginning of this era. These creatures look similar to animals we see today, but they still had a little evolving to do. In this era, reptiles began to develop, but they didn't look like lizards and the reptiles we are used to seeing. They were much, much bigger.
Now we're in the Mesozoic era, and in there is the Triassic, the Jurassic, and the Cretaceous. And in the Cretaceous, there is the T-Rex.
The T-Rex in its natural habitat.
Great.
Oh no, I think it's seen us. Run! Run away! The age of the dinosaurs. This is the time we see dinosaurs in all of Earth's history. The ones you see most often appeared later in the Jurassic and the Cretaceous periods. This is also when ferns appeared. They looked almost exactly like the plants we see today. At the end of this era, a giant asteroid crashed into Earth and killed off all the dinosaurs and many other animals living at the same time. This is called the KT extinction.
The next era is the Cenozoic era, and it's broken up into 2 different parts, the Tertiary and the Quaternary. This is when humans first came onto Earth.
This is the Cenozoic era. That's the era we're in right now. It is the same plants and animals as those around you. Now, at the bottom of the Cenozoic era is what's called the Quaternary period. That's the beginning of humans. So, in this whole timeline we've shown you, that little sliver down at the bottom of the Cenozoic era is the first time humans have appeared in all of Earth's history. We didn't look exactly the same as we do now. Humanity first appeared about 10,000 years ago. Also around this time were the Ice Ages. Now, I'm sure you've all seen those movies, but those were real events that happened in Earth's history, and they happened about 2 million years ago. All around you, the Earth is changing, and it'll keep changing for millions of years. The rocks, plants, and animals you see have been changing and evolving for millions of years to be the way they are today. When you look out the window, you can see glimpses into Earth's past. Now, it's your turn to be the scientist. Discover the world around you and see what you can find.